On this episode of Bad Day Excellence, have you ever had a job where you could make a change and you wouldn't get in trouble for it? Or maybe you had a manager that actually believed in you. I have, and in both cases, servant leadership was at the core of these jobs. Let's dive in. Good day to you all, and welcome to Bad Day Excellence, the podcast where we transform tough days into opportunities for growth. I'm Brian Walsh, an optimist with over a decade of experience in marketing, leadership, and personal transformation. In that time, I've shed more than 100 pounds, run a marathon, built a successful freelancing business, and worked with some of the most inspiring people I have ever met. I'm here to help you build habits that create clarity, success, and a meaningful life, even when life feels chaotic. Every week, we'll dive into the art of habit formation and how you can apply it to your career, parenting, relationships, and beyond. True leadership isn't about control, people. It's about service. Today, we're going to dive really deep into how great leaders create the impact using value-driven habits. My hope is that by the end of this episode, you're going to understand how to create an open culture, empower your team, and lead with a purpose. Ready to turn a bad day into your next breakthrough? Let's get started. I was just discussing my journey earlier this week on the Starting Story podcast. Not sure when it will come out, but I'll let you know on Instagram, Facebook, or my weekly newsletter. Krishna, the host of the show, asked me when I realized that I wanted to help people and become a mentor. I took a moment to try and align my thoughts because answers came flooding forward, but I don't always trust my brain, especially to keep it organized. The truth is, there's not one aha moment, but several individuals who helped me along the way become the version of myself today. The helper, the one who is so desperately hopes he can inspire people to transform their lives as much as I have. Most of these people were managers of mine. I talk a lot about Subaru of America, mainly because it's during the tenure I did the most transforming in my life. In just that organization alone, I had 3 mentors that created an environment that I absolutely thrived in. From my day-to-day interactions with Karina, my manager, who was an absolute force and really challenged me to take ownership, and all she gave me was direction, all the way to Daisy and Brian, our director and CIO, that helped navigate the crazy seas that was telematics. We were developing some of the latest and greatest technology for the Subaru vehicles that wouldn't come out until 3 or 4 or 5 years. So all 3 of these awesome people were invested in every single individual under them. They were tough but fair, and that's the simplest way to describe them and their approach. When I started at Subaru, I had no clue what servant leadership was, but I had a front row seat every single day. They expected everyone to be accountable in their areas, and if they or you found a gap, they were ready to step in and help you learn in order to bridge that gap. And when you messed up or someone from another department was giving you SHIT, right? They were always there to protect you and take the heat. They left a lasting impression on me. Hey, if you're enjoying this content and think somebody else could benefit from it, consider sharing it with them, or even add a 5-star review so that we can get in front of more people and turn their bad days into excellence. Thank you so much. I remember this one time when we were presenting a project we developed for the dealerships, right? This was for the salespeople. The person that I was presenting it to was not happy. In fact, they called the design and the app that we built gross. Oh my God, Karina's accent. What do you mean gross? Brian, Daisy, and Karina immediately stepped in and defended the hard work that we had put in. They grabbed all of our crap and stood up, and they just straight up looked at them in the eye and said, you know what? You can't talk to our team like that. Come back when you're ready to have a civil conversation. I didn't know what to do. I was just sitting there and I was like, oh God, okay. Because you don't mess with Karina, you don't mess with Daisy, and you definitely don't mess with the CIO of the company, Brian, right? I was in shock, and all of a sudden they stood up, they started walking out. My legs just started moving because, that's what leaders do. They inspire you to move, and they respect you and the work that you put in, and they defend you tooth and nail. Everyone follows a leader, a very good leader who respects you as an individual. Some of the best CEOs are the ones that know the janitor's name. They knew the project was complex. They didn't have any input on the design or the approach, but they believed in what we had put together without question. Servant leadership is the complete opposite of telling people what to do. In fact, it's asking, what do you need to get your job done? What hurdles can I remove? Are you satisfied with the work you're doing today? Managers delegate tasks. Leaders inspire ownership. Servant leadership at its core is a series of habits that align with every important value that you have. I have actually 4 pillars of my style of servant leadership. They are the 4 C's: connection, choice, competency, and consistency. I kind of stole the first 3 C's from Why Motivating People Doesn't Work and What Does by Susan Rigetti, but consistency is the only way to build trust throughout your organization and your personal life. So that's all me. Let's start with the connection habits, right? Leaders create an environment of trust and inclusion. Even as a day-to-day contributor, I was making connections with each team member. Full-time employees, contractors, didn't matter. Because I spent a lot of my time in marketing and design industries, I built up a general curiosity for understanding what makes people tick. So I was very proactive with checking in with people frequently, and I would see what was going on in their lives, right? There were a few individuals that didn't like get personal, so I would just find common ground and discuss those things with them. This helped the team as a whole, because if someone wasn't feeling great or in a rut, I would try to find a way to help them out and, maybe make the workload a little easier so that they had time to heal. Again, I wasn't in charge of the team, but that didn't mean I couldn't help lead the team. Even today, my one-on-ones all start asking how they are feeling or ask about a hobby. I came ecstatic to a one-on-one because I learned about cricket from a Netflix series, and I brought it up with a few of my compatriots from India. This was so much fun because we got really deep into it and we connected so well. And I still don't exactly understand it, but you know what? Every single time I bring cricket up, we both laugh because they can explain it to me time and time again, but until I play it, I have no clue. So hopefully one day I get over there and we can play a match. Every single individual is important to me. And when we both trust each other, we don't have to worry about anything but their career and the work we need to tackle. Once we get through connecting on a personal level, we don't talk about work still. We talk about their career and whatever aspirations they have. In fact, I try to avoid work updates because we have so many stand-up meetings and emails flying around that I'm pretty aware of the current status of most of our projects. I trust them to do the right thing and just keep me informed. And a lot of times I reiterate at the end of the meeting that they don't need to wait for a one-on-one to talk with me. I have an open door policy. I say, if you need something, you let me know. While we're discussing their career, I'm practicing active listening. With my ADHD brain, it's all over the place. They'll mention one thing, I'll all of a sudden relate it inside my brain to a TV show or movie that I saw or some music that I was just listening to. And, it jumps all around. So I use the PAR method to make sure that my brain stays on task. PAR is short for pause, acknowledge, and respond. This works in every aspect of my life, and I make sure to practice it as much as possible, even with my kids. I listen to what they're saying and also try to identify what they aren't saying. I'll jot down quick notes of interesting points, and then what I'll do is I'll follow up with what was communicated to me and what I believe I understand. This shines a light in areas that we may not have common ground on. And then again, this builds even more trust because now we are absolutely on the same page. Now, if we do have a little extra time to our one-on-one, I open the floor. Let's discuss any projects or decisions or anything that they think they believe I need to know. I then make an effort to take every question or update and as an opportunity for them to take more ownership. This brings me to the second pillar, choice. Choice is probably my secret sauce. A lot of times they'll hear me say, you have 52% ownership. What do you think? Or, if they feel really lost, I'll even tell them, let's go through the 1-3-1 method that I pulled from Dan Martell. And then make sure that they're coming up with the one specific problem. They're coming up with the 3 viable solutions. And then I just ask them, like, which one do you think is the best option? I reassure them that I have 48% ownership of this task or decision or project, and that if it goes sideways, that's the 48% that I have. I take the bullets. I protect them because I believe in their ability to make good choices with the limited data and time that we have. Hey, if you're loving the podcast, you'll love Mindset in Motion, my free, no BS weekly newsletter. One habit tip, one thought, one check-in, all in under 5 minutes. Sign up at baddayexcellence.com. It's quick, it's fun, and it actually helps. Now go get it. I did this twice last week. And you know what? Both of these individuals are A players. So it doesn't even matter how good they are at what they do. We still have that inner voice that needs some reassurance that they know what they're doing, right? They need that little extra help in order to get over that hump. You know what's funny is I'll measure my own progress by counting the amount of times they ask for permission or a decision. The less times they ask, the better I'm doing. I'm not a micromanager. And as a team lead of multiple teams, I can't be a know-it-all either, right? There is too much going on everywhere. And, I wouldn't be doing them justice if I tried to learn it all. My role is to give direction, not instruction. With every choice they make, especially the ones that pan out wonderfully, they build upon another pillar, competency. Competency is very important when you're problem solving, right? But a lot of times we start without having the proper knowledge and help. Actually, I start so many things with little competency and high confidence, and I'm humbled very quickly. In fact, I just learned about this thing called the Dunning-Kruger Effect. Basically, now I know everything about psychology, okay? But hear me out, right? The Dunning-Kruger Effect is basically when people think they're way smarter or more skilled than they actually are because they don't know enough to realize how much they don't know. Like the fact that I've been listening to the Rich Habits podcast, and if you listen to me talk to my wife, I know exactly how to become the next Warren Buffett, right? Just watch me, right? You don't know what you don't know. Then you fall off Mount Stupid. And reality smacks you in the face, right? Like you now find yourself in the valley of despair with just a little more competency, but no confidence whatsoever, right? Because we realize you don't know jack. You begin to read and experiment a little bit more, and then just grow over time. And this is called the slope of enlightenment. Competence grows, which also increases your confidence, and you find yourself a lot better off. And that's when you land on the plateau of sustainability, right? These are the gurus. These are the people that have allocated enough time and effort to learn, and they're fully confident in what they're doing. Most of the time, those gurus, they're not the ones that are, outwardly saying, I know how to make you rich in 20 days. Or they're not the ones that are like, I know everything and I'm the best. No, these are the people that are quiet, right? And then if you ask them questions, they take their time, they think about it because they fully know what's going on. I like to think that these are the people that are the Tyrion Lannisters in life. They drink and they know things. This Dunning-Kruger effect is why so many managers abandon servant leadership too early. They aren't actually willing to take the time for their team members to climb the competency ladder, right? It's like a hover parent that won't let their child jump from one lily pad to another without holding their hand. The kid's gonna fall, cry, dust themselves off, and then try again. You can't look at me in the face and say that you weren't there at one point in your life. We've all been there. We've all got this inside of ourselves, and we just need to do the same thing today and allow others to have the time to do the same. Okay, so here's another habit that you need to introduce if you don't already do it. You need to celebrate the tiny wins as a team. I will take a few minutes each week to call out an individual for their good documenting or way to follow up quickly with a business owner, right? Like each tiny win will help reinforce their confidence and validate that they have the competence needed to keep taking ownership. Even behind the scenes, I'm promoting the wins to my superiors, other teams, about all these amazing individuals. This helps build more confidence in my team members from other aspects of the organization. It's super important to build those relationships. And also, it becomes a lot more contagious as well. Another aspect of competency that I actually believe is really important habit to have as a servant leader is transparency. I share all of my own failures and learnings constantly with my team. This shows that no one is perfect and that I am on my own journey. I learned to lead by example. And I learned that actually in college through my fraternity. It was kind of our motto for some time. And it's really important to show that everyone will fail, right? But we all should have a habit of failing forward instead of staying stagnant and playing the victim. Pushing to failure is important as a leader because you never know who's watching and you learn more from failure than you do success. When I win and people notice, I remind them that it actually wasn't me, right? Like my actions are only a result of the team's ability to create this environment of progress, right? So what's that last pillar? That last pillar is consistency, right? I love consistency. It's littered throughout this episode, in every message I share. It's just everywhere. I cannot stress enough how consistency is the most important aspect of building any habit or making any sort of relationship gains and building that trust that you need, right? If you always do what you say, practice what you preach, and never stop iterating on these habits, everyone wins. Your team members are growing beyond their current roles, which is exactly my goal. I make it a point to ally with them so that they can spread the same mentality everywhere they go, even if they leave the company, right? You will win because you have more time to do what you're good at, whether it's planning or looking for opportunities to streamline processes. And then obviously the company wins because they have an army of competent and confident people who are pointed in the same direction of improvement. So I ask you, are you leading in a way that makes your team better, or are you just demanding they follow your orders? It's time to shift your mindset and put your team members first. Like Simon Sinek says in his book, Leaders Eat Last. I'm just going to read this real quick. The true price of leadership is the willingness to place the needs of others above your team. Great leaders truly care about those they are privileged to lead and understand that the true cost of leadership privilege comes at the expense of self-interest. All right, for this week's challenge, I want you to schedule a one-on-one with a team member and just listen, okay? If you aren't a leader, right? Like if you're not a manager of people or anything like that, go find someone you admire. Find common ground if you don't already have it, and start by asking open-ended questions that release dopamine when asked. And here's an example, right? Like I like this one. What's something you could talk about for hours without getting bored? Write it down, burn it into your mind for later, and really lean into this topic. This is their passion. This will help you connect with them and build the trust you need to start building a reputation as a servant leader. Listen, if it goes sideways or they just want to talk about work, because this is completely out of left field, ask them about any problems they are facing and what process improvements they think should be made. Then make it your mission to look for ways to remove these roadblocks. Again, build the trust. Send me an email at brian@baddayexcellence.com or DM me on my Instagram account at walshmcgrow. I want to hear that you had this, and how did you feel afterwards? How did they feel afterwards? Share it with me. By the way, I've added a brand new section on my website that houses all the templates I use, guides I've created, and suggestions for reading material that I love. Just go to baddayexcellence.com/habitlab. And if you haven't already, please leave a review and a 5-star rating on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, or anywhere you listen to this podcast. Ratings, comments, shares, they're all forms of showing love, not just to me, but to others. Because together, we're not just getting through bad days. We're turning them into something great. I'm Brian Walsh, your guide to habit crafting and your biggest champion. Thanks for tuning in to Bad Day Excellence. See you next time.